In the depths of the galaxy, on a planet where morality was as scarce as breathable air, a bustling market thrived. Traders, mercenaries, and merchants from countless species gathered in a chaotic sprawl of bright lights and ominous shadows. The scent of alien spices mixed with metallic fumes, creating an atmosphere that was both intoxicating and suffocating. Amid the clamor, a young alien girl stood bound by shimmering energy shackles. Her appearance was mesmerizing, smooth skin with faint iridescent patterns that shifted colors under the dim lights. Her eyes, large and filled with both intelligence and sorrow, scanned the crowd. She didn't cry, though fear radiated from her every movement. Crying wouldn't help here. Nothing would. Behind her stood her family, parents with sunken eyes and frail forms, their posture weighted by guilt. Once prosperous merchants, they had been ruined by debt and desperation. The girl understood their decision even as it tore her apart. Survival came at a cost, and today, that cost was her. A hulking alien trader stepped forward, his leathery skin gleaming under the market lights. His voice was gravelly, laden with greed. "Rare specimen," he announced to the gathering crowd. "Perfect for labor, entertainment, or whatever your twisted desires may demand." The girl shivered but kept her head high. She had promised herself she would show no weakness, not to these monsters who saw her as nothing more than property. Bidders shouted their offers, each voice a hammer driving nails into her fate. Her parents stood silently, eyes averted. Whatever love they once bore had been smothered by the weight of survival. As the auction heated up, the trader's grin widened. He knew he was about to make a fortune. The girl's rarity made her a prized commodity in this lawless corner of the universe. She closed her eyes, bracing herself for the inevitable. But then, a voice cut through the chaos, calm, steady, and unmistakably human. "I'll double whatever your highest bidder offers." Silence fell over the crowd. All eyes turned toward the source of the voice. A tall figure stood at the edge of the platform, his face shadowed by a hood. Unlike the others, he carried no obvious weapons, but there was a presence about him that demanded attention. The trader's amusement faded into suspicion. "You think you can just waltz in here and outbid everyone without showing creds, human?" The man shrugged casually. "Why not?" His voice carried a quiet confidence that made the crowd uneasy. The trader snarled, but greed won over caution. "Fine. Show me the creds, and she's yours." The human stepped forward, his movements deliberate. The girl watched him with a mix of hope and disbelief. Who was this stranger willing to pay such a price for her freedom? And more importantly, why? Her fate, once sealed by betrayal, now hung in the balance, teetering on the edge of an unexpected intervention. The trader's eyes glimmered with greed as he extended a thick hand toward the human. "Show me the credits, or walk away before you embarrass yourself." The human tilted his head, unfazed. "I don't carry physical creds," he said calmly. "But I do carry influence, and I have a deal that'll make you richer than this auction ever will." The crowd murmured, intrigued by the boldness of the offer. The trader's scowl deepened, but curiosity got the better of him. "Speak fast, human. My patience is thinner than your species' backbone." The man took a calculated pause. "You're in trouble with the guild, aren't you? Word travels fast when you cross them. If you let me walk away with the girl, I'll make sure your name disappears from their bounty lists." The trader's jaw tightened. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, but I do," the human continued smoothly. "You're bleeding profits from paying off hitmen just to stay alive. One slip, and you're vapor. But me, I have a way of settling debts without bloodshed. Call it a gift." The trader's thick fingers flexed, his eyes flickering with doubt. He hated humans, but the offer was too tempting to dismiss outright. The alien leaned in close, his rancid breath hanging heavy in the air. "And what guarantee do I have that you won't vanish the moment you take her?" The human smiled faintly. "You don't. But you also don't have many choices left, do you?" A long, tense moment passed. The crowd, sensing the stakes, watched in breathless anticipation. The trader's pride battled with his survival instinct until finally, the latter won. "Fine," he growled, spitting on the ground. "Take her and get out of my sight. But if you cross me, human, I'll make sure even the guild can't find what's left of you." The human nodded once, a silent acknowledgement of the risk he had just taken. He stepped toward the alien girl, who stood frozen in disbelief. With a swift motion, he deactivated her energy shackles, the restraints dissolving into nothingness. "You're free," he said simply. Her voice, hoarse from silence, finally found strength. "Why? Why would you do this?" "Maybe I don't like seeing people treated like merchandise," he said. "Or maybe I just hate that guy." He nodded toward the fuming trader. "Either way, you're coming with me. If you want freedom, you'll need to move fast." She hesitated for only a moment before nodding. Whatever awaited her with this human had to be better than the life she'd just escaped. As they walked toward the edge of the marketplace, whispers rippled through the crowd. No one had ever outmaneuvered the trader without violence. The human had just pulled off what most would have called impossible, and he did it without firing a single shot. The air outside the marketplace was thick and humid, carrying the scent of metal and decay. The human led the alien girl through narrow alleys lit by flickering neon signs, his steps confident and purposeful. She followed close behind, her senses heightened by the chaos that always simmered just below the surface of this lawless world. "You have a name?" he asked without looking back. She hesitated. "Kira." "Well, Kira, stick close. This place doesn't take kindly to happy endings." Before she could respond, a sudden commotion erupted behind them. The trader wasn't done after all. His hired thugs, a mix of brutish aliens armed with plasma rifles, had already caught their trail. The shouts grew louder, closing in fast. "Guess I made someone angry," the human muttered, pulling a small device from his belt. He tapped it, and a holographic map flickered to life. Kira glanced at it, recognizing escape routes instinctively. Left at the next junction, she advised quickly. "There's a service tunnel that leads out of the sector." He shot her a surprised glance but didn't question her. They sprinted through the winding passage, ducking under low-hanging pipes and dodging broken machinery. The sound of heavy boots echoed behind them, relentless. A bright plasma shot scorched the wall near Kira's head, forcing her to duck. Her heart raced, but the human remained calm, his movements precise and calculated. With a flick of his wrist, he activated a smoke grenade, filling the alley with thick gray fog. "Keep moving," he ordered. They plunged into the service tunnel, the metallic walls amplifying their footsteps. The damp air clung to their skin, but the relative silence offered a brief reprieve. Kira's breathing was heavy, her body still trembling from the chase. "You always this good at running from trouble?" she asked, trying to steady her voice. "Only when it's worth it," he replied with a smirk. "Looks like you're worth it." Kira wasn't sure how to respond to that. Trust was a fragile thing, especially for someone who had just been sold by her own family. Yet there was something about this human, his confidence, his refusal to abandon her, that made her want to believe in him. As they reached a hidden access point, he keyed in a sequence, and a hatch slid open, revealing a sleek, concealed spacecraft. Kira's eyes widened. "That's yours. Home sweet home," he said. "Now get in before they catch up." Once inside, the ship's doors sealed with a reassuring hiss. The thugs would never find them now. Kira slumped into a seat, the weight of her ordeal finally hitting her. "Why did you help me?" she asked quietly. He took a moment before answering. "I've seen too many people get crushed by this galaxy. Figured it was time to even the odds." Kira nodded, a spark of determination igniting within her. "Then teach me how to survive it." The human grinned. "Deal." For the first time in days, Kira felt hope flicker within her. The ship hummed quietly as it ascended through the planet's toxic atmosphere, cutting through dark clouds until the vast expanse of stars stretched before them. Kira stared out of the viewport, mesmerized by the endless galaxy. For the first time in what felt like forever, she wasn't bound by chains or fear. The human, seated at the control panel, deftly navigated the ship past orbital patrols. His hands moved with practiced ease, every switch flipped with confidence. He glanced over at her. "You good?" Kira nodded slowly. "I think so. Still trying to wrap my head around everything." "You'll get used to freedom," he said. "Takes a little practice." She leaned back, her thoughts swirling. Back there. I thought I was done for. But you changed everything. I didn't even think humans cared about anyone but themselves. He chuckled softly. We get a bad reputation out here, but we're not all bad. Some of us like to prove otherwise. Silence hung between them for a moment, comfortable yet charged with unspoken possibilities. So what now? She asked, her voice steadier. That's up to you, he said. I can drop you off at a safe station, or you can stick around. I could use someone who knows her way through ancient star routes. Heard you mention a thing or two back there. Kira's brow furrowed. You trust me that much already? Let's just say I trust your survival instincts, he replied with a grin. And I've got a feeling we'd make a good team. She considered his offer. Life on her own sounded daunting, but the idea of working alongside someone who had risked everything for her felt right. For the first time in a long while, she saw a future not dictated by fear or servitude. You said something about evening the odds, she recalled. I think I'd like to help with that. The human's grin widened. Thought you might. The ship's navigation system chimed, signaling the approach to a warp gate. He keyed in coordinates, the swirling energy of the gate glowing brightly ahead. As the ship prepared to jump, Kira felt a surge of exhilaration. The galaxy, once a prison of endless dangers, now seemed filled with possibilities. I never caught your name, she said suddenly. Jack, he answered simply. Thanks, Jack, she said sincerely. He nodded. No problem, Kira. Just don't make me regret this. The ship shot through the warp gate, stars blurring into streaks of light. Kira's heart raced, not with fear, but with excitement. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew she wouldn't face them alone. And that was enough.